Welcome to Sikorski's Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorski. My guests and I share our operations and technology expertise to help you provide outstanding customer service and customer experiences. Today our guest is John Goodman, and he is coming to us again via Skype from Alexandria, Virginia. And today our topic is going to be maybe controversial, I don't know, but it's, do customers really want personalization? I know sometimes I call independent companies and I'm a repeat business person with them or a repeat general customer, and they try so hard to please me when all I really want is XYZ, I want to get it done, and so forth. So John had contacted me directly and said, I think this would be a really good topic. So let's just talk a little bit about John and his experiences. He is vice chairman of the Customer Care Measurement and Consulting Group, and we met many years ago on a project for the United States Postal Service. He is author of Strategic Customer Service and, of course, the newly published Customer Experience 3.0. He's done over 1,000 case studies, including consulting to 45 of the Fortune 100, and he's taught school at Wharton Business and appeared on Good Morning America, National Public Radio, the Discovery Channel, ABC News, and many, many more. So without anything further, let's just go right in, John. Does everyone really want personalized service on every contact?
Well, Laura, where this actually hit me was I was in a high-end hotel in Tokyo, and I was sitting there in the very crack of dawn, and I asked for a cup of coffee because I couldn't find the coffee urn, and they went away, and 2 minutes later they came back and brought me a cup of coffee, which I drank very quickly, and then I wanted another cup of coffee. And I then found I had to ask again, could I have a cup of coffee? Oh, would you like cream? And the whole 9 yards again. They disappear for 3 minutes, come back again. And finally I said, don't you have a coffee urn? And they said, oh no, we want to give you personalized service. We want to bring you each cup of coffee. And it hit me at that point that in certain situations, trying to give really personalized service isn't really meeting the customer's needs. I just wanted to be able to drink 6 cups of coffee in a 10-minute period and then go on to do the rest of my day. And they just had a very difficult time dealing with that. So what we find is that there are certain segments of customers who want personalized service, and there are certain customers who want personalized service for certain kinds of transactions. But a one-size-fits-all, we give everyone this intense personalized service really is not a good strategy.
But as you're speaking, I'm saying, well, how do you determine what the customer really wants? How do we go about doing that? Like in my situation, I didn't really care to be, talked about and all that other stuff and being given options. You just wanted a coffee urn so you can go get it yourself. How do we convey that to customers? We don't need the warm and fuzzy details all the time.
Well, one of the biggest challenges that I think exist is that this particular hotel and a number of companies we've run into have a universal goal of we will exceed customer expectations in all cases. We find a better approach is to acknowledge that you have multiple segments and then teach your frontline employees to read which segment that customer is in. Like after the first time, they should have been able to figure out pretty quickly that I was looking for a continuous stream of coffee and maybe brought me a pot that I could have then used. And then secondly, one of the things that we found Avis does a fabulous job of is that Avis actually will present you on their website with, there are 4 sets of customers, which one are you? And they give you a 2-sentence description of each of the segments, and you pick which one you are. For instance, one of the segments is I like the fanciest cars and the latest technology. Another segment is I'm a business traveler and I just want something with 4 wheels that will get me out of the airport cheaply. The third one is I'm Aunt Tilly on vacation. And the minute I know which of those you are, I now know what's important to you.
Exactly, and that really is a great thing. I'm assuming then the customer can start looking at self-service, and they would go to the website, and maybe some customers, depending on industry, right, would be able to provide a pop-up. Which customer are you? What are you looking for? On a chat session, or maybe they're in the e-commerce site.
Exactly, and in fact, you've raised a very important point. Our data from the 2015 National Rage Study shows that 90% of customers on plain vanilla transactions will go to the website first and try and self-serve. And they will only call if they can't find what they want on the website. So, sort of a very useful diagnostic is asking people gently, have you been to the website? And you'll find most people have. And then that's telling you that what they're calling about is something that you probably need to have on the website. And then the second point I would add is, it may be on the website, but if it's 5 clicks in, that's not very helpful. So what we find is, if you have the top 5 issues that people are calling about on the home page of the website, all of a sudden, they won't have to call about those 5 issues. You'll see a significant drop in volume and a significant improvement in happiness. Now, the big challenge we see is that the owner of the website, which unfortunately in many cases is not customer service, says, oh, but that's valuable real estate. I want to use that for marketing. It's much more intelligent to have a block that says, here are the 5 issues that people are calling most about, and here are the links to the answers.
Absolutely, totally agree. I find that websites today are just so chock-a-block full of nonsense that they don't help the customer get back to what they really are trying to click in and do. I know, one of the questions we talked about identifying segments that someone is in, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. You also mentioned that maybe we should start looking at customer history. And let's talk about that a little bit, because I know if you have screen pops and you can look at past transactions, you're able to get a little bit about the previous history of a customer. Is there something easy that a company out there can do?
Well, one of the things that a company can do is, when the representative is talking to the customer and they quickly figure out, okay, this is a New Yorker in a hurry who really doesn't want to have a social experience with me, they can typecast that customer and put in the history, their segment 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then the next time that customer pops up using automated number identification, the new rep already knows that this customer is a New Yorker in a hurry as opposed to Aunt Tilly on vacation, and can then start responding accordingly. Now, a requirement is that in the first 15 seconds I read, okay, are you someone who is really upset about a new issue, and maybe switch my stance. But what we find is that, yes, you're absolutely correct, that previous history and a flag as to which segment I'm in is tremendously helpful.
Really, I totally agree. You know what? A lot of times today, all the talk is about exceeding customer expectations. Does that make sense today?
Our data actually shows that an awful lot of what I call the heroics, and the classic case that came from Joe Pine's book in the 1990s was Nordstrom's taking back tires when they don't sell tires, which actually did happen once. But the theory is that the customer is always right, and you will dramatically exceed expectations, and that's the appropriate approach. The problem with that story is that finance people have also heard that, and it tremendously discredits the whole idea of a really good customer service system, because there are many cases where if I spend a fortune dazzling you, I get very little payoff in terms of enhanced loyalty and positive word of mouth. So one of the things we strongly suggest is that companies try different approaches to delight, and then actually rigorously measure what payoff are we getting in terms of improved satisfaction, extended word of mouth and word of mouse on the web,
Right.
and which actions create a real good payoff and which actions are a tremendous waste of money. And what we have found, ironically, is what I call the cheap delighters are the things that create the biggest payoff. For instance, Chick-fil-A has now hired your grandmother to cruise the dining room, pouring sweet tea and saying, oh, would you like a few more fries? And they get a 20-point lift in satisfaction and loyalty for a 40 to 60-second interaction. What they call this is a microburst of emotional connection. And you can do exactly the same thing on the phone, where your rep will take 20, 40, 60 seconds to bond with that customer, share a useful tidbit of information, or schmooze about Fluffy, the dog who's barking in the background, and you will get a very good lift from that, and you're only spending 20, 40, or 60 seconds as opposed to spending a fortune taking back tires.
And that's so true. It's all being nice to the customer, but not to the point of being, I'm going to use a silly word, but goofy. I mean, sometimes our reps are taught to, overextend over this, and maybe it just means coming, on a rep's point of view, changing your tone of voice and having a smile on your, in your voice. So with that, it's time for our first commercial break, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Tim Stead. I'm from Star Communications. We're a marketing support company. And if you need help with your next marketing project, please call 273-1900, or you can go to our website, starcommunications.us.
Welcome back to Sikorski's Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorski. We're going to continue our conversation with John Goodman, who is coming to us from Alexandria, Virginia. Do customers really want personalization? And just as we were talking during the break, John mentioned business to business. So let's talk a little bit about that in terms of exceeding expectations, and we'll go forward.
What we find is that businesses actually have a much higher set of expectations, and so the idea of going the extra mile, I think, makes a lot more sense in a business-to-business environment, and also you're going to get paid a lot more because the average business customer is worth hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it makes a lot more sense than the individual consumer. But the interesting aha that we have arrived at is that everyone has gold, silver, bronze, and lead customers. And everyone fawns over the gold customer and does all kinds of fabulous stuff and takes them to golf tournaments, etc. But what we find is that the gold customer, you're getting all the revenue you're going to get from that gold customer, and more than likely, they're also squeezing you on margins at the same time. On the other hand, the silver and bronze customers may be someone else's gold customer, and in most cases we find the silver and bronze customer is being treated like the lead customer. And so our aha was to say, let's look at the silver and bronze customers and maybe try giving them some of this great emotional connection and delight, and do some extra things for them. And there's a much higher probability you're going to get more revenue and higher margins from them than you're going to get from the gold customers. Again, this is somewhat counterintuitive, and you need to sort of tell your sales reps, don't spend all the time on the gold customers, allocate some conscious time to the silver and bronze customers, and you'll probably all be much more successful. But that's generally counterintuitive to what most of the world thinks.
I agree with you, and sometimes, it goes back down to know your customer. And so many businesses out there really don't identify with the true needs of what their customers want. They're just so interested in bottom line revenue that they don't take the time to think like a customer, think like a patient, so that they understand what it is that the customer is looking at. Now, there's a lot of survey systems out there, and what should people be doing to measure the personalization aspect?
Well, we actually find that one of the best questions is, have we done anything recently to delight you? And if so, what? And in many cases, the customer will tell you a very positive story, which you can use to recognize the employee, but also you can then look at, okay, how much of a lift did we get from doing this delighter, and is it really worth the time and money? Again, we think that the ongoing satisfaction tracking system that most contact centers have can be used to measure this. All you need to do is have the representative make a note or check a box somewhere in the system saying, okay, this is someone I spent time educating or schmoozed with and did something that was a delighter. And then you start looking at what's the average loyalty of people who have received these delighters versus people who just had a plain vanilla transaction. And what you're going to find in many cases is that what I call the cheap delighters, the quick schmooze, will give you as much of a lift as doing the heroics.
Okay, just for our listeners out there, schmooze is a New York term, and that means the warm and fuzzy. So, as we're talking, a lot of companies have these IVRs, press one, press twos, and on a recent show, we had the manager of sales operations from B&H Photo, one of the mega electronics places, and they have 500,000 products. So IVR is extremely important to them to navigate them to a human right away. It's just that the customer has to navigate themselves appropriately. Do you think there's still a place for the IVR in today's world, though?
Most IVRs drive people nuts, and Tom Peters, the guru, did an interview with me entitled "Push One, Push Two, Push Three, Push Your Customer Over the Edge."
Right.
So,
well, it's true.
People really do get aggravated by it. The silver bullet that we have identified is that wherever you print the 800 number, you print the menu that they're going to encounter. So I don't need to listen to all your silly options and get confused. I know which option I want to push in advance. Also, both USAA and AARP actually will tell you for this particular offer or this particular product, dial the 800 number and push 1 and then push 3. So they tell you so you then don't have to navigate the IVR. And we find that increases customer satisfaction by about 20%, and it decreases opt-out rates where the person says, the heck with this, let me speak to a human being. It decreases that by about 20%.
That is it's like brilliant, for people to do. And a lot of times what, I do with my hospital clients is because, again, there's so many avenues that you have to, when you call a doctor's office as an example, different things that you want that you not necessarily have to speak to someone, or maybe you do. So in marketing, what we are doing is saying if you want to reach, as an example, the medical records department, when you reach our 800 number, press X. And it just makes sense. And folks out there, start thinking about doing that. And, what about web chat and video? I mean, video seems to be the hot thing right now. What do you think about that? How does that fit into our personalization discussion?
Well, what we found is that video chat is all of a sudden really starting to grow. And I know that Salesforce is especially starting to support that. And a very interesting example is that TurboTax, Intuit, now has an SOS button that if you're befuddled doing your taxes, you just hit the SOS button and you are immediately visually talking to a rep. And one of the interesting things they have found is that eye contact with a rep increases confidence in the answer by about 20 to 30%. So the simple fact I'm looking at you and seeing that you're a real human being and that you look coherent actually improves confidence in the answer, and improved confidence, especially in high stress environments. And I would say taxes and medical care are two high stress environments.
Exactly.
Really works very, very well. And if anything, it actually decreases talk time because I'm more confident, therefore I'm not querying you 2 or 3 times about the same thing.
Right, I'm not hoping or not, I'm hoping that you have a good, good answers for me, Miss or Mr. Customer Service Agent. Now you get that that feeling, oh, they look good, so they must be, they must be bright, and I'm going to feel okay. I really think that video is really the place to be. I know several hospitals that we work with are really looking into telemedicine and video very, very strongly.
Well, and by the way, there are 2 other very interesting applications of this. One is in insurance companies now, they are basically saying that if you've had a fender bender, they simply say, okay, download this app and then aim the phone at the crumpled fender and let me look at it, and they can actually adjust the fender bender over the phone as opposed to having a adjuster come out and make you wait there for an hour till the adjuster gets there to look at the accident. And Moan Valves, the faucet company, is now saying, okay, you're needing help installing this faucet. Show me where you are and show me the faucet you're trying to take out and put the new one in. And again, they have plumbers on the phone who are giving you advice, Harry homeowner at home, on doing the installation. And again, they're finding a much higher success rate, and customers will pay a premium for products where they're getting that kind of support.
Well, there's a TV commercial now, and I unfortunately don't remember the company, but they have John McEnroe, and he can't get a new piece of equipment to work. And the representative says, well, here, I want you to show me, let me see what you're doing. And of course it's a play on words, it's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. But it was like brilliant for this particular company to say, look, I could talk to you real time and help you. I could see what you do, unplug the wire, plug it in there, and it was good to go. Totally
yeah, and by the way, one other thing Moan has done is that they have also, besides the video streaming I just talked about, they have said, okay, you have the ABC faucet, let me send you the video on how to do the installation, and that works dramatically better than me telling you, okay, here are the 7 steps you need to follow.
Right.
Because if you're madly taking stuff down, if I give you 7 steps, you're going to absorb 3 or 4, you're going to miss 2, and now you're going to have to call back. So we are now finding that if one uses videos and sends them out for supporting installation or any type of a complex process, all of a sudden you have dramatically higher satisfaction, many lower callbacks. And the one last thing I would add is if you make the video funny, people will really enjoy it. And one of the things that TurboTax now does in their whole process is that when you're going through filling out your income tax, they will say, okay, you have a new baby. We really apologize, but we have to ask, is that baby paying more than half of their own expenses? and they realize it's sort of a ridiculous question, but it's done in a humorous way. And to inject a little humor while you're doing the painful task of taxes, they have found to be really a positive type of thing.
It truly is. My goodness, I can't believe we're almost out of time, and we definitely need from John our takeaways or Sikorski's think-abouts. So what shall we wrap up with, John?
Well, I think the first would be identify multiple segments and recognize you have multiple segments. There are some people who want to schmooze and have a long emotional conversation with you, and there are other people who just want an answer and want to move on and are not interested in a personalized service environment. Secondly, you need to measure in terms of what's the impact of personalization and delight, and identify your cheap delighters. And then Thirdly, identify the 2 or 3 transactions that are probably the best opportunity for having that emotional interaction with customers, and have your representatives get together and talk about what are the different approaches you can take to this that are both efficient but also create the emotional connection, so that everyone has multiple approaches to it depending on the customer personality.
That's excellent. I cannot thank you more than just say thank you. Well, if you'd like to reach John, John is, again, remember, Vice Chairman of the Customer Care Measurement and Consulting Company. His email address is jgoodman, that's GOODMAN, at customercare, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie.com. His Twitter, and you really would love to view some of his Twitter comments, is jgoodman at jgoodman888, and his direct phone number is 703-823-9540. And I urge you, John's company he has been around a long, long time, and I think you would benefit from him as a consultant and his group. Now, certainly to reach us, to me, it's L. Sikorski at earthlink.net, and my Twitter account is at Laura Sikorski, and my direct line is 631-624-6650, and let me know if there are any potential guests that you think I should have on our show, or perhaps a topic that you would like us to investigate. And of course, we always want to thank our videographer, Sam Matthews. She does a great job every week for us. And Corinne Murphy-Caro, she is founder and CEO of the Daily Blue, the network that we are filming at. And you can reach her at 631-761-9223. And with that, thank you so much for clicking in today, and have a great rest of the day.